Hello there. Russian troops in Ukraine running out of fuel and food? How can that possibly be true? When it comes to a propaganda war, we are now situated right in the middle of no man's land. But if an army marches on its stomach, then by all accounts the Russian army is going to grind to a halt very soon, because there are stories coming out of Ukraine of stranded Russian tanks starved of diesel fuel and Russian troops starved of food. Now this might all be part of the propaganda war, so who knows how true this is. Now there are videos on Twitter of stranded Russian tanks where the problem is not a breakdown or enemy action, but purely running out of fuel. And in one, a passing Ukrainian driver told the Russians he could tow them back to Russia if they wanted. Now these could just be one or two isolated events, but it doesn't sound like good military planning to me. But further, Estonian MEP and former Chief of Defence for his country, Riho Terras, put out an extraordinary Twitter thread where he basically said that Putin is furious because he thought Ukrainian would be done and dusted in 3 or 4 days, and that it's costing Putin a fortune, and that if the Ukrainians can hold out for 10 days, then it will be Putin that is doing the negotiating to get out. Further, that the Russians only have sufficient missiles for a few days' conflict, and that is why they are spraying them out sparingly but widely to make it look like it's a larger offensive. Now this thread is based on intelligence from a Ukrainian officer, so it's open to question as to how believable it is. But one commenter on the Twitter thread said that this did tie in with the open source intelligence, or OSINT as it's called, that is available through social media and other sources about Russian troop and asset movements. Terras also says that the Russians did not have a tactical plan. It seems they just wanted to frighten the Ukrainians into instant surrender. Now it also transpires that Putin put out a request for troops from one of his allies, Kazakhstan, to help his efforts in Ukraine, with NBC News reporting, Kazakhstan, one of Russia's closest allies and a southern neighbour, is denying a request for its troops to join the offensive in Ukraine, officials said Friday. Additionally, the former Soviet Republic said it is not recognising the Russia-created breakaway republics upheld by Russia's President Vladimir Putin as a pretext for its aggression in Ukraine. Is it possible that Russia can't go it alone against Ukraine? And if Kazakhstan has been holding back to see which way the battle winds were blowing, then you've got your answer as to how they see it panning out now. Now many people will be asking why the UN isn't heavily involved. Well, that's because Russia sits on the UN Security Council and has just vetoed the UN from condemning the invasion. You couldn't make it up, could you? And Russia will veto everything that the UN tries to do there. Now I know some viewers will call this all Western propaganda, but many will hope that this is true and that the fighting will end and the Russians will be forced back home. But is this all a blind and we'll wake up tomorrow to see a victorious Putin smiling as Kiev surrenders? Or is Putin about to find out, maybe, that he cannot trust his generals, advisors and manufacturing oligarchs to tell him the truth, or to spend all that money he's given them on rearming Russia instead of lining their own pockets? Maybe that's where all the dirty Russian money swilling about in London and other financial centres comes from.